Good job on the quiz. Now in this chapter, we're going to go over the new model of selling. Remember, NEPQ, compared to the old model. Today, the sale is not made at the end of the conversation with outdated closing techniques and traditional objection handling rebuttals. It's made during what's called the engagement process. Now think back to the model I showed you before. Just to check that you've been paying attention, tell me this. What percentage of the time spent with the prospect is spent on engagement? Yes, you're exactly right. Now with the new model, engagement is now 85% of the sale. It's where both you and your potential customer are discovering what their problems are, what's actually caused the problem, and how those problems are affecting them so you can see if what you offer will actually help them. Just like in romance, the term engagement refers to a period of getting to know another person before you marry them. The same is true in selling and persuasion. The engagement process is where your potential customer is persuading themselves by answering your skilled questions. But here's the key. More importantly than them telling you their problems, who are they telling? Well, they're telling themselves. And I have this question for you. Is it more persuasive when they tell themselves why they need to change their situation, or when you tell them they need to change their situation? I think you know the answer to that now. Remember, according to behavioral science, it's actually 5 times more persuasive if they tell themselves rather than you, the salesperson, telling them what you think they should do. I want you to imagine making 5 times more sales than you are now. What would that do for you financially? Now, on the flip side, when you keep making the same amount of sales you are now, well, you stay exactly at the same income level you're at, right? Now, you might be thinking, but how do I go from the level, Jeremy, I'm at now in my sales career to doubling or even tripling my sales? Let me show you the sales structure that I'm going to train you on in the course to increase your sales now step by step. Number 1, you're going to learn about connecting questions. These questions take the focus off of you and puts the focus on your potential customer. Step 2, these are called situation questions. These find out what their present situation is. Step 3, these are called problem awareness questions. What problems do they have? What's caused their problems? How are the problems affecting them? Step 4, solution awareness questions. These questions are powerful. They involve your prospect and their ideas, which cause them to emotionally attach themselves to solve their problem and actually do that with you. Step 5, consequence questions. These are some of my favorite. These questions help them question their way of thinking and explores the consequences of them not changing their situation. Step 6, qualifying questions. These confirm how important is it for them to change their situation. And step 7, transition. We're going to learn transition questions. These help you naturally transition into going over how your solution will help them solve the problems they just told you they had. You see, these questions give you the correct setup so that you can present your solution at the right time. Now notice that's only 10% of the new model is presenting. You're simply taking the answers they gave you and matching the correct features and benefits to solve them. Now contrast this to what most salespeople do. They ask a few logical, superficial questions, they get a few superficial answers, and then they go right into what? Their sales pitch. It's like taking a bucket of mud, throwing it up against the wall and hoping and praying that something you're going to say is going to trigger them to magically buy from you. Now, once you learn the right questions, you're never going to have to play the game, I hope they buy from me. Why? Because with any PQ questions, you already know which mud to throw on the wall. You already know what's going to stick. How do you know that? Because they've already told you based on the questions you've asked. And you know what's completely insane? Only 5% of the new model requires you to focus on closing. You're just going to ask a few closing questions. I call these committing questions, which we'll train you on in the course. This helps your prospect commit and take the next step to purchase what you're offering now, not later. So this wipes away the stress, the anxiety, the frustration you might be feeling in sales because it's a natural process. When you use NEPQ, your prospect doesn't feel any sales pressure. I have to ask, how easy would it be for you to sell your product or service if your prospect didn't feel any sales pressure from you because the questions you asked caused them to sell and persuade themselves? NEPQ is a way of selling that will completely change the way your potential customers view you. At this point, you'll become the trusted authority in your market, the advisor who's going to help them change their situation, solve their problems, as opposed to every other pushy salesperson who's desperate for a sales commission. Which way do you want to be viewed? Now, I think we already know the answer to that. All right, it's time for a quick quiz, and I want to say good job on completing the first quiz. You're doing really well. Take the quiz, and as soon as you're ready to really dive into the psychology of NEPQ, go to the second course. I'm going to meet you there. I can't wait to share with you all the details and insights of NEPQ so that you can start changing the way you sell to get you massive financial results for you, your company, and your family. I'll see you soon.